Today, I'm going to show you how to make this easy and very effective router jig for routing in perfectly straight grooves, for designs, and even rabbets for joinery. I hope you follow along on this build with Black Timber Company. I first begin by ripping a piece of 1/2 inch MDF to a width of 6 inches for my base. This width will vary on the dimensions of your router. I then rip my guide rails from the same 1/2 inch MDF material. These are ripped to a width of 1 1/4 inch. Take your guide rails you just cut out and glue and nail them so that the edges are flush with the edges of the base. Take a piece of 1/4 inch acrylic and cut this to a width that will fit onto your router base. This can be the same width as your router base that is currently on your router. In my case, I cut my acrylic to 3.5 by 3.5 inches. You can now take the other rail and glue and nail that onto your base. I used my acrylic base I just cut out to use this as a gauge. You don't want this gap too tight that your router won't slide with ease, but not too loose that it will want to wander from side to side. As you go down the rail nailing it in place, move your acrylic base with you. Make sure the gaps stay consistent. Next, add 2 stop blocks, one at each end. Now you're going to remove your existing router base. Take your acrylic and place it on the bottom of your router and mark where you need to drill your holes. Make sure you countersink your screws with a larger drill bit or a countersink bit if you have one. Find the center of your acrylic base and drill a big enough hole that it will accept the router bit you're going to want to use. Once the hole is cut, you can now attach the acrylic base to the bottom of the router. You can now put your router in your jig with the router bit you want to use. Start by making shallow cuts to eventually router through your jig. This jig is super simple to use. First, measure and draw your line that you want to router in. Slide the jig over the line you have drawn and you can put it in the center of your slot in the jig. Clamp down the jig to the workpiece and make your cut. The purpose of this jig for me was to create a perfectly straight lines in some Chevron pattern doors that I'm currently building, and without this jig it wouldn't have been possible. I hope this video has been helpful, and I'd really love it if you would give us a thumbs up and please subscribe to our channel. Also, go check us out over on Instagram at Black Timber Company for tons of other content. We'll see you next time.